Hi there, it's Peter, and in a minute we'll have Krow. See if I can add. Okay, new viewers, guest requests, stand by. Oop, you get to see that. Okay. That one, invite friends to watch. Invite Krow. I've invited Krow. Now we'll see what happens. Okay. Krow is also ready, so we'll see if he'll see the invite and then he can request to join. I'll just let him know I'm live and send an invite. Krow, I'm live and sent an invite, period. Okay. We got one eyeball, all right. Welcome. Doesn't say who you are, but thanks for watching. Okay, Krow requests to join, and I will approve. Got Krow incoming.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you and see you.
There we go.
Awesome.
That went a little bit smoother.
It did indeed, yes.
There we go. Yeah. There. At least that's something.
Right. I'll do our call sign for our show, or whatever the thing is. I'm Peter.
I'm Krow.
And this is P&K Q&A for January the 24th, 2021. And we are now in day 4 of the what I'm calling the greatest show on earth. Oh, Aaron's watching. Hi, Aaron. Welcome.
It is the greatest show on earth. We also should start out with the Lord's Prayer.
All right.
And I've got the quantum syntax version in front of me, which I think if people are familiar with me, that this is my favorite of all the Father's prayers that I have dug up that have been written through history. We've gone over them before, the earlier ones being the most simple in language and getting more complex with the one that Christ gave us. And now even a little bit more complex, and I would say a little bit more insightful of what is expected of us from the Father. Here we go. For the Father of the people is with the creation by the Father, with the knowledge in the heaven is with the holy name of the Father. For the knowledge of the truth is for the people of the Father. For the kingdom of the Father is in the knowledge of the truth. For the knowledge of the Spirit is for the unity with the Father. For the freedom of the actions is with the knowledge by the truth. For the protection of the earth is for the life of the people. For the knowledge of the Father is with the protection for the people. For the truth of the people is with the path into the heaven. For the teaching of the people is with the truth of the people. For the knowledge of the day is for the production and learning skills of the people. For the wrongs against the knowledge is with the actions of the people. For the sins of the people is for the wrongs against our neighbors. For the knowledge of the people in the forgiveness of those wrong decisions. For the people of the debts are of the responsibility in the truth. For the people of the awareness are for the forgiving with the truth. For the knowledge of the people leader is with the teaching with the truth. For the evil of the people is for the lack of knowledge of the truth. For the knowledge of the truth is for the freedom of the people against the evil of the darkness. For the people are with this agreement. And basically, it comes down to there is no unity without truth. And it's only truth that will unify people. And I dare anybody to argue that one. So, how do you feel about what's going on in your homeland?
Um, well, I'm just watching, and as I said before, the overall vibe I'm getting is of and this is energetically wise, of a planet-sized power plant that's slowly ramping up from a certain power level up to probably a much higher one, smoothly. And it's interesting to watch kind of what's going on. I feel a little bit, I don't know, it's surreal, I guess is the thing. It doesn't, I get the feeling it's what's the thing I said in my put on my Facebook page, do not be deceived by appearances and all of that stuff. I did notice that on some of the White House videos that I talked to you about the last couple of days, they did turn off the comments for them. The but I don't know if there isn't anything they can do about the massive negative like to dislike ratio, if that they can't turn that off or what. But maybe they're somebody said they're someday they'll pull a box of likes out from under the table when nobody's looking, something like that. I'm not sure what's going on, but on most videos, if you look at the like to dislike ratio, it's positive 10 to 1 or 100 to 1 or something like that. If you go on, I haven't looked at other, like, on other news channels on YouTube, but the White House channel is interesting. There, for all these President Biden videos, the ratio is between 2 to 1 and say maybe 5 to 1. More dislikes than likes. It's, I think one of them was what, Krow, 5,000 likes and 20,000 dislikes or something like that.
I seen a ratio. I seen one ratio, 140,000 dislikes to like 2,500 likes.
Okay.
I was like, wow, This is how we fight. This is how we fight. This is how we wake people up,
Mhm.
is just to show them. I mean, I've pointed out before, it's like Trump announces that he's going to take a shit and he gets 500,000 likes. And Biden can't even get, 10,000 likes.
And
So
something interesting that I noticed when the comments were on and maybe I'm just biased, but the negative comments were more polite in general than the negative comments against Trump. They were calling him a racist and a this and a that, and the negative comments on Biden were just time for a nap, Joe, or I'm waiting until they pull a whole bunch of likes out from under a table. Just negative comments, but they're tame negative comments, right? They were polite. I mean, it was surreal. Again, this was just like I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
that
Most of
is
them
the
were
di-
polite.
that is the difference. See, what we are witnessing is we are witnessing the difference between emotional anger and righteous anger.
Yes,
Emotional anger attacks a person, their character, and their family. Righteous anger attacks the action of that person.
exactly. Yes.
That's the difference that we are witnessing. And that alone is a powerful tool for waking people up. Um, I was watching a Jordan Sather video last night, and my God, I mean, that guy, he's like, his discernment level is like he's almost a master. Like, no bullshit gets past this guy. I mean, you've got to operate at, quite the level to get anything past this guy. And it's not that he's anybody special. He just stops and thinks. That's all he does. He just stops and thinks and just asks himself, does this shit make sense? And if it doesn't make sense, why doesn't it? And then he gets his answers. He's just really good at asking questions, which if we all got good at asking questions, they wouldn't be able to hide a fucking thing from us because the answer will come to us. And I've said it 1,000 times before. God will answer every question that you will ever ask. You just got to learn to ask it the right way
Hmm.
because of limit the limited ways in which God can communicate with us. And some of us God communicates through visions. Uh, some of us God can outright talk to, but those are few and far between because we've got a lot of mental noise going on. And others will fall into a trance and they'll get the messages, or in other cases, an event will happen or something, and it will trigger something in your mind and just be like, oh, that's the answer. But one thing that all of these things have in common is paying the fuck attention and being mindful of your question.
I like the way
Because
Richard Bach said it, and I didn't look it up to get the exact quote, so I'm going to see if I can paraphrase. He said, basically what he was talking about was kind of what you were talking about. You continually refine what questions you ask and the way you ask the questions, and in a few short years you'll have a system that gives you the answers almost as soon as you ask the question.
and he is absolutely correct. A man actually did that, sort of actually by accident. Um, I forget his name, but he wrote a book called Conversations with God. an absolutely fascinating book. And basically, what he did is it was almost like an experiment within himself because I think his background was like witchcraft and shit like that. So he understood energy and he understood like how things work. And he took that knowledge and he applied true faith to those tools. You see, it's not the tools that are bad, it's how we use them. So he took those tools, applied true faith to them, and he sat down and he ended up writing a book. It took a while there, but he committed himself. And what he did is he would sit at his desk and he would start a conversation with God. And he would just sit there and he would do his very best to be honest with himself that what was coming through was coming from God. And he wrote down everything that came through during this process. And uh, the book held me. Let's put it that way. I mean, I was fascinated with it from page one, and I read it all the way through, just you know, very quickly. That's how fascinating this book was. He wrote 3 books, and I read all 3 of them. And yeah, he's and every question that he asked, when when it was answered, it made sense, like in a logical and reasonable way. I think that was one of the books that kind of led me into the Urantia book. And yeah, so you can do it and you can get answers, but there's effort on your part, lots of effort. Uh, but it's well worth it. Uh, I usually end up going into vision and trances, uh, usually while watching images and while reading. And then I'll just like read a line. And then all of a sudden, all of this flood of information would come in because what I did is I, it was the way I look at it is that it was like the last little piece of the puzzle that was needed to connect all the other dots.
Right.
And then once all the dots were connected, then then the father had a point of reference now, so that what I was being shown, I would be able to understand.
Okay.
Instead of like maybe describing it as a wheel within a wheel with flames furling around and shit like that, I can actually something that can come into my mind and I'll understand it. The hardest part is trying to get other people to understand it because it takes so much information just to be able to understand the vision. And then once you understand the vision, to try to relate that vision back to somebody else. But the vision ain't going to make any sense unless you have all this background information.
Mm-hmm.
And I found the easiest thing is like everything does kind of tie back to morphogenic fields. So it does. I always come back to morphogenic fields because it's the simplest explanation that I can come up with to try to explain a lot of what's going on. Because morphogenic fields are basically the uh, the primal the primal program, computer program that runs everything, and everything stems out from there. All the gravity, all the elements, everything. Without morphogenic fields, none of this would exist. And all it is a memory field. So
Okay. The way you are describing, let's say, reading the last line of a book, and that is the final piece. Um, there's somebody called Mike Dooley. I think I sent you a couple of audios of a long ago, the first two of the tracks at the beginning of one of his books. And he has something called Notes from the Universe, which you can sign up for on email or whatever, and you'll see one each day. One of them, I think, is, as I recall, what happens just before the biggest miracle of your life occurs? And the answer is absolutely nothing. And it's, I guess the point is that when that happens, it's simply the culmination of a whole bunch of other pieces that you and the universe have set up into place. And then this last thing happens that triggers the cascade to bring it in for you.
Yeah. And it's the same thing with everything when you start building something. It's
And
like,
situational awareness runs it all. Or your situational awareness is our end of the book. It's what we do on our end. Is paying
yes, and
attention and figuring out our interaction and how we're going to be about things.
situational awareness is important. And it's just a different way of describing prayer in motion. It's like even the Son of Man said, it's like you should be praying all day. And I've said it before, it just basically means situational awareness, paying attention to your thoughts, paying attention to what's going on around you. Instead of just going through life, sleepwalking. So pay attention. I mean, shit, the animals are paying more attention to their environment than most people. I mean, I'm got to be more like a wild animal. Be aware of what's going on around you, and less like a farm animal. That only notices the farmer coming with the hay, but doesn't notice anything else. So, yeah, pay attention. And my other favorite thing that happened for the inauguration, I don't know how many people know this. Biden had to rent his own charter jet to go to his inauguration.
Really? Okay.
The military did not send Air Force One. Trump took Air Force One. He
Yeah.
took Marine One, and he took Air Force One. It's like, he's like, yeah, they're coming with me. They're mine now. It's like, what the fuck just happened here? What
Yeah,
the
that's right.
hell?
He flew out. Yeah, he took Marine One to the air base from the White House in the morning. And then he took Air Force One down to Florida, I suppose, because he was still technically the president until noon. And then probably Air Force One wouldn't get, I don't know where Biden had to come into Washington from, but Air Force One would not have been available to him but before noon on the 20th.
But
Yeah.
but that's just the kicker. Normally, the military would just not do it.
Hmm.
The outgoing president, well, actually, the outgoing president normally doesn't leave Washington.
Yes.
So,
No, he doesn't.
so
Obama was at Trump's inauguration, and I think whoever the previous Bush, I suppose, was at Obama's inauguration. I don't know. Yeah, that was, I think, highly irregular and almost unprecedented, wasn't it?
yes, it was. It was very unprecedented because normally Air Force One does not only leave the ground to go pick up the incumbent president, because the sitting president is in Washington,
Mm-hmm.
ready to hand power over to the incumbent.
Right.
Trump bails. So Trump definitely, and on top of that, um, Trump kept the nuclear footballs.
Mm.
Biden has something else. They say that they gave him the spare, and
What, the
of
spare set
course,
of nuclear codes?
yeah,
There's well, I suppose there'd be an extra backup copy of it or whatever, but I don't even know what format any of that's in. But okay.
there's no such thing. Why would you have a separate unit, fully functional, that is capable of launching the entire U.S. arsenal of nuclear weapons?
Yeah, some things you just
Why?
have one of, and that's it, right?
Yes. Why would you want to have two of those things?
Hmm.
You would not.
Yeah, no, the whole purpose of it precludes that. Yeah.
Exactly. This is where people are fucking brain dead. It's
Hmm.
like, wake the fuck up. What do you think they got these fucking, you got a bunch of them sitting in a spare closet? It's like that makes no goddamn sense.
No.
None whatsoever. None of this makes any sense. It's like, take a look at take a look at the footage for the inauguration. Um, when you look at the live camera, blue skies and sunshine. But then you look at different parts of the inauguration, it's gray skies and gloom.
Hmm.
So either somebody's fucking with the lighting for the camera, or we're looking at two different events.
Oh, you know what?
At two,
What I think is interesting, if you look at, okay, they have the shot of the press secretary doing her thing for Biden, and then they have Biden in the White House. There's one shot of him at the desk in the Oval Office, but it's a tight shot, and I don't think it shows a wide shot zooming in like they did with Trump. And then when he gives, like, he signs a stack of executive orders twice, once at the desk in the Oval Office, and then another time, and we can give him the benefit of the doubt and say that they are different orders that he's signing, but he gives a speech at a lectern in the some other room in the White House, or that's what it's supposed to look like. And then there's this little desk with these things just big enough to hold the stack of executive orders for him to sign in the tray of pens. So what's going on there?
the whole thing is bizarre. And oh, to add one more bizarre thing on top of all of that, take a look out the window behind Joe Biden, and then take a look out the window behind Trump, sitting in the
In the Oval Office.
same, in
Yeah.
the Oval Office, sitting at the
There's
same
those black
damn
government
desk.
pickups behind Biden, and somebody said in the comments, I didn't know there was a parking lot behind the Oval Office. I think though you can actually see the ellipse from there, and there could be cars parked on it. But yeah, it's you'd want to take a look at check out the two versions of the video. I need to do that and see for myself what the view appears to be behind that desk in both cases.
In
Yeah,
both cases, in Trump's case, it's a hedge.
it's a
In
hedge.
Biden's case, yeah. In Biden's case, it's a parking lot. And it looks like the Oval Office windows are almost at ground level.
Yeah.
The Oval Office is not at ground level.
No.
No, there's a
Okay.
deck off the back, out the back of the Oval Office. Trump has walked out of it many, many times, just like every other president, and they always end up on a deck. It's only like 3 or 4 feet off the ground, overlooking the Rose Garden. Look out the back of Joe and tell me if that elevation is 4 feet. It's not, because you're practically looking through the windows of the SUVs parked outside.
Yeah.
And if you look at the overhead, there's not a speck of pavement out there. It's all grass. So they're parking SUVs on the lawn now? None of it makes any sense. None whatsoever. And then there was an official German government agency, I forget the name of it, but they tweeted out, looking forward to a better relationship in the future, blah blah bullshit.
Mm.
But the picture that they posted with that tweet was a staged set mock-up of the Oval Office. And I was like, oh, this is an official German government agency. What are you saying, boys?
Yeah, it's
What are you
almost like they
saying?
went and thought.
It's
You remember the movie? There was the movie, The American President, right? And I'm sure that they didn't get to film that entire thing in the White House or any of it. They built a set, very accurate replica set probably, but it almost feels like they put Biden in some set, a movie set of the White House, and they're filming. I almost want to say it looks like. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if somehow that was the case. I don't know.
and here's the other thing, okay? That
Because it's
whole
all tight shots.
it's all
It's all
tight shot.
tight.
Yeah. But here's the thing. That Oval Office was completely redecorated for Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I mean, I can understand curtains. I can understand rugs. I can understand furniture. I can understand all the books being cleared off the shelf and new shit being put on. What I can't wrap my head around is putting up brand new wallpaper perfectly within a couple of hours.
Mm.
I'm having a hard time getting past that one.
The biggest
Or
thing
change.
I noticed is that the curtains were those gold curtains. I think he changed it from Obama. It's the same curtains Trump had. It looked like to me. I guess I don't know. The rumor, when shortly after Trump was sworn in, the story was that he went and put up, I think, Bill Clinton's curtains, the gold curtains.
The gold curtains. Well, Trump likes gold. I mean, that's obvious when you look
And
at his
Biden has the
apartments
same
in
color.
yeah, Biden has the same color. And speaking of the curtains, did you take a look at them? Look at them? They're wrinkly as fuck. You mean to tell me that you couldn't take one of those handheld steamers and run it down those curtains?
Yeah, for like 10 minutes before the thing, right?
It's
like,
but I mean, and if it is genuine and it is the real Oval Office, then I am frightened, because you mean to tell me that you have surrounded yourself with idiots, that nobody bothered to notice a wrinkly curtain? I mean, it's supposed to be the highest office in the land. I mean, it should be perfect, right? You would think. And you would think that, okay, people make mistakes. You want to know the type of people that make mistakes? Those are the type of people that have no pride in anything that they do. Those are the people that make mistakes. If you have pride in what you're doing, you don't make mistakes. It's like, it's like me. When I'm doing mechanical work, I don't make mistakes. I take shit apart to fix it, go back together, it fucking works the first time. It's rare that it doesn't. You know where I do make mistakes? I make mistakes in my bookkeeping. I have no passion for bookkeeping. It's an exercise that must be done.
So question on that: the White House staff. I'm guessing they don't get changed out with the administration. Usually, there's regulars. I think so. Either something is in a different location, or they are doing a crummy job on purpose because, well, you can guess maybe why.
It's called passive aggressive. And you know what? That might be that might be it. That's actually might be it, because I'm wondering how many people seen the video of the soldiers turning their back on Biden. I mean,
Yeah,
like, I've seen the video. Like, these soldiers, actively and purposefully turned their back. I seen it with my own eyes, and my jaw dropped to the fucking floor because
There's the yeah.
military.
The one I recall is there's a row, there's a row. He's driving down the street, and there's a couple of rows of troops at the edge of the street, and then some more between the edge of the street and the motorcade, and those are facing him, but the others, like 2 rows of troops, are facing the other way. Now I can understand, you have sentries or something, but they're going to be a little further back and not kind of obvious to see what their back's toward. But the ones on the street, 99% of them would be turned toward, maybe one guy's looking the other way for security or something, but they're probably going to have someone further back. But no, I did see that. Yeah, like a couple of dozen troops are pointing the other way from Biden as he's driving by.
Yeah, and they don't even make any effort to go stand at attention. And then my next favorite thing that happened, Trump gets a 21 gun salute send off.
Mm-hmm.
Biden does not. And I've had people sit there and be like, oh yeah, but no, there was cannons. We just didn't see it all. I was like, why wouldn't they live stream all 21 shots? They did for Trump. So I counted 3 shots. And then a YouTuber was kind enough to explain the situation. And I was like, oh my fuck, no way. So apparently this YouTuber was in the military, ex-Marine. And part of his job was organizing the ceremonies. So he knows all the protocols involved in the ceremonies, allegedly. And I found it interesting what he had to say. So basically, he had the 21 gun salute and the Hail to the Chief music for President Trump. Biden didn't get the Hail to the Chief music, and he didn't get the 21 gun salute. That salute that they did do, and what Buddy pointed out, was the 10 seconds between shots. That was the important part. That's the part that tells you what salute they were doing. And apparently, the salute that they did for Biden is a salute that is either, Buddy said, it is either a funeral salute because of the location, Arlington Cemetery. He said, but he said also, he said, if it was in another location, but it also could be perceived as being 2 salutes within one, he said that is also the same protocol that is used to welcome foreign diplomats on American soil. I was like, okay. So we've got a ceremony. Well, actually, it's not a welcoming ceremony. It's it's to let the troops know that there is a foreign foreign agent in the house, essentially. I guess it's not really a welcoming. It's a announcement that there's a foreign agent in the house. So it's either it could be an announcement for a funeral for the unknown soldier, or a tribute, or an announcement of a foreign presence in the house. Take your pick. It's quite frankly, it looks like both right about now. So that is where we're at. And what other fun thing happened this week. Uh, I'm just thinking that what Jordan Sather was saying. There was the other thing that was going around this week, and I really had to chuckle at the people that were eating this up. They were comparing Q to the truth movement in Russia back when the Bolsheviks were taking over.
Hmm.
And so I'm just like, oh my God, are these people fucking for real? As you're trying to compare apples and oranges. For one thing, the Bolshevik thing, that was a regional thing. And yeah, you could probably use a psyop similar to what Q is using to fool the masses, but you'd only be able to do it in a local area. Anybody outside that area, you wouldn't be able to convince. Let's compare that to Q, just for shits and giggles, just like they were trying to do in this article, which was all bullshit. And plus, they were just citing, all they were doing was citing mainstream articles. So basically, you had one liar swearing for another liar. And so I looked at that and I was like, yeah, there's no comparison. Because if you look at the Q movement, what has the Q movement actually done in this last 3 years? So if it was a CIA psyop, I mean, it is a psyop. Let's not kid ourselves and say that it's not. It is a psyop. But just because it's a psyop doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. You know, again, we're back to tools. A tool can either be used for creating or it can be used for destroying. It's up to the individual. Free choice. And so if Q was a CIA psyop to deceive the masses and to keep them asleep, it failed miserably because tens and tens and tens and tens of millions of people are following the Q drops. Don't kid yourself. There's like 8 billion people on the planet. Over half of them have access to the internet and know how to use it. And at least half of those people know about the Q PSYOP. And what that Q PSYOP has done is that it has encouraged them to go and dig up information and do their own research. Why would a CIA PSYOP want you to do your own research and think for yourself? It wouldn't. It would want the exact opposite. It would spoon feed you the information that they would want you to have, just like they have done for the last 80 years. So that's not what Q did. Q didn't spoon feed us information. Q asked questions, forced us to go for the answers. Ask a question, and you're like, well, shit, what the fuck? And so what would you end up doing? You'd go looking for the answer just to see. Some people went looking for the answers just to prove Q wrong. Others of us, we went looking just because we were curious. And then we found out some things. We found out about human trafficking. We found out about adrenochrome. We found out about Satanists. We found out that, they're doing this shit right in front of us. And it's like, okay, then, then we find out just exactly how many children go missing in the United States within a year. We're talking like 500,000 kids, people. They go missing just within the US alone. It's a fucked number. Where are they going? And that doesn't, and the millions of children that go missing all around the world. And then while you're digging for all this shit, you end up coming across videos, testimonies, and of people repeating this. And some of these testimonies are over 10 years old, some of them 20 years old. Some of these people have been saying this shit for fucking 20 years and nobody's been listening. And then all of a sudden, we're listening. And now I think that we have gotten to the point, and all of this was done to hone our discernment skills so that we can see for ourselves the lies that are put right out in front of us. And once you see the lie, then you are better equipped to recognize the truth. And I think that is what has happened over this last 3 years, is that people are now seeing the truth. And now what's happening now, this is the last big push to really push the bullshit out in front of you. I mean, most of us woke up over the last couple of years thanks to the whole Q movement, and we see the bullshit that's going on, so much so that we can't even watch mainstream media anymore. It's just like you turn on CNN and you just want to throw up because it's all bullshit. And then we start going into the alternative media, and then we start recognizing the bullshit there, and then then we stop following those people, and then you find the people that are telling the truth. I mean, and now we see it plain as day. And now, this is why everything that is happening right now is so shocking to a lot of people that are awake. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe they're being so blatant. But look at the amount of people that are still sopping this shit up. And it's just like, can't they not see it? It's frustrating as hell. But the way everything is going, they're going to be forced to see it. And it actually is going right back to what we talked. I've told the story many, many times before about the Scottish king that started fining people for feuds between families, and that stopped the feuds. I mean, cutting heads off, cutting hands off, throwing people in jail. That didn't stop the feuds. But the second that the king started taking their wealth, yeah, all of a sudden all the family feuds stopped. Yeah, money talks, bullshit walks once again. Well, that is going to be the same truth that's going to happen again. And once it hits their pocketbook, people are going to wake up. 60,000 jobs went bye-bye in Biden's first 3 days. Is everybody shitting their pants yet? I mean, that is just an amazing amount. And this is the part where it really fucking made me laugh because I was just shaking my head. A lot of these people that got laid off or are going to get laid off, they belong to unions that encouraged them to vote for Biden. How's that for a kick in the fucking nuts? Oh yeah, these people are sitting at home and they're thinking to themselves, my union leader told me to vote Democrat, and I did, and here I am. $100,000 mortgage or whatever the fuck, car loan, kids, child support, whatever. I mean, in the oil industry, it's in the energy sector, these guys are getting paid really good fucking money, like really good money. And all of that money is tied up in equity in the form of loans, all of it. And now they just lost their income. Where's the money going to come from for their mortgage? And since they're wrapping up this whole COVID thing, yeah, don't kid yourself. This whole thing will be done in like maybe a month. Once they'll wrap up this COVID thing, it'll be in the past faster than you can fucking blink. and you're just going to wonder what the fuck happened. They've already set out a mandate to start reducing the cycles on the tests for COVID. The test started out that we do 40 cycles. When you do 40 fucking cycles on any test, then you're going to end up with false positives. And so so now they've reduced this test to 20. That's by 50%. And nobody even fucking thinks about that. They're just like, oh, watch the cases of new COVID cases drop like a fucking rock. Within 3 weeks, we'll be down to 0 COVID cases. And that will be their basis for reopening. Now, here's the other kick in the nuts. And this is why they'll be getting rid of the COVID thing. You get rid of the whole COVID thing, now you don't have to think about COVID relief payments. So all those people that have been barely hanging on for the last year and have lost their houses and were thinking, oh, okay, you know, I'll get a recovery check from the government. If you ain't got a recovery check from the government yet, you ain't getting one at all. Because once this pandemic is officially over, which I expect probably by the end of February, they're just going to be like, well, you don't need a COVID check anymore. It's over. Go get a job. Learn to code. These people are fucked and they're sick. And this is what they're going to tell you. In fact, they're already telling people to do that shit. They've already had one government official already tell the laid off oil workers, go find another job. Point to another job in any sector that is going to pay these people the amount that they were making in the energy sector. They ain't going to get it. And some of these guys have been it worked in the energy sector like since they were like 17 years old. And so what are they going to do? I mean, they were able to drop out of school, bypass college, and have a successful career. But their career's in oil. And mind you, these guys, I mean, they don't know how to do anything else. I mean, I've worked with some of these guys on the derricks. They know what the fuck they're doing. And, you know, and you would want these guys when you're working on in such a dangerous environment. These guys are the guys you want beside you because they've already seen it all and they know how to avoid it all. You know, they've managed to keep all their fingers and not lose their head. So, yeah, you can't just throw anybody into these jobs. And moving out of these jobs, I mean, some of these guys are like 40, 50 years old. What, go back to school and learn computer programming? Are you fucking kidding? It's like, it's just messed up. And this is gonna cause a huge problem for these people. Because, you know, people get frustrated. So yeah, there's the fun stuff that happened this week. Everybody's being betrayed. Women's sports, see you later. And it reminds me, this whole fucking thing is reminding me of like fucking just about every fucking South Park episode that I've watched. I mean, it really is off the fucking wall. But we're having fun.
Okay, so just because I'm an incurable optimist, I'm gonna segue into a thing about little ways in the future. I've said that, and I think you agree with this. Cottage industry and small business is, you know, skipping over what we're doing right now. But later on, you know, 5, 10, 20, 50 years, it's going to be huge. Small businesses are going to double, triple. I can't even put a number on it, but it'll be like the numbers will be like pre-industrial revolution, like everybody's going to be working out of their home or an office in some city with their 3D printers making whatever and sending it all over the world, taking orders by internet and things like that. And then what was the other thing I wanted to say? I don't remember now, but yeah, so that's basically that.
And that's the kind of economy that we need to go to.
Mhm.
I don't know whether it was a vision or just wishful thinking or what have you, but I guess I did see that I seen that the gold was repatriated back to the people, and everybody got their physical share of gold. As messed up as that seems, and I was like, why? Why does everybody get their physical share of gold? It was to show just how valueless gold really is as a commodity. That if everybody in the world got their 2 pounds of gold or whatever, it becomes completely worthless. It becomes a paperweight, essentially. And that is what we got to do. We got to move away from this primitive value system where we put value on things. We need to move to a modern and more intelligent system of putting value on contribution, physical contribution into the economy.
Mm-hmm.
And this type of a system where the only way to create wealth is to use your genius in such a way to generate wealth. And if you can't do that, then depending on your level of genius, will begin to depend on your level of wealth. And with a system like that, there's no way it cuts down on hoarding, because you can't hoard wealth. Because in a system like that, if you decide to hoard your genius, you won't be able to generate any wealth. And I don't care what anybody says, we need an economy. Anarchy is not the answer. I do my job, you do your job. Why the fuck do I want to come home from that job and have to plow a garden so that I can eat? No. I'd rather have money that I can go to the grocery store and buy my groceries, and that money in turn ends up trickling back to the person that was able to provide that food in the market for me. And that money, they are able to buy the things that they need in order to produce that food. This is how the economy is supposed to work. It's supposed to be reciprocal. But the way that it's set up now, it starts going in a circle, but it only goes in a half a circle, and then it stops because the fuckers hoard the wealth. They don't bother letting it make the other 180 degrees back around to the people. And once we have a reciprocal economy, things will be great, and things will begin to move forward, and you'll start to see, just like it was at the beginning of the 20th century, when people started realizing that they could make money off of their inventions. There was an avalanche of patents that were made in the late 18th, early 19th centuries, or 19, whatever, anyway, 1800s, 1900s, because people realized that they could make money doing building stuff and become millionaire, so why wouldn't you want to build a better mousetrap? The system that they want us to work under is it doesn't get any better than this, so don't bother, which is bullshit. Complete and utter bullshit, because there's still more stuff that we can come up with, still more inventions, and still more ways to create wealth. I mean, I mean, technically, we've only had a capitalist society for like maybe 150 years, and only a part of and only about maybe half of that time we had a true capitalist society, maybe even less than half that time. But look how much has come out of it. I mean, the medical breakthroughs, because people wanted to either make money or they wanted to help people, and they had the freedom to do both. And the inventions, I mean, the vacuum cleaner would never have made it out of the basement of Macy's in New York if Buddy, the guy that invented it, didn't think that he could make a buck at it. I mean, he built the vacuum cleaner, I kid you not, he built the vacuum cleaner from an electric fan. So he's working at Macy's, right? He just had to go upstairs and get the shit that he needed, right? He built a vacuum cleaner from a small electric fan and a bucket and a cover. And the reason why he built this is because he just got tired of choking on the dust from the rugs that he had to beat out daily. And he just got tired of it. And he was like, man, he's like, I've got to find a better way than that. And one day, while he was beating the rugs, he noticed that the fan that was just how good of a job it was really pulling all that dust out of the room, because he set a fan up in the window. And he noticed that it just drew it out real quick, but still he was choking on it because it filled the room before the fan exhausted it. So he thought to himself, he's like, I wonder if there's a way that I can contain this dust so that it doesn't fill the room, but yet I can get rid of it. And that's what he came up with. An ingenious plan, a genius idea. And then he used that for a little, and then eventually he made a rotating brush, power head. And so he had actually built himself a power-headed vacuum. And working in Macy's, he's watching products go out the door every fucking day. And he's like seeing how much money Macy's is making from this. And he's thinking to himself, I wonder if I could like build something, that people could use in their homes. And so he sat down and he invented the vacuum cleaner. Take a wild guess what his name was. Hoover? Same thing with air conditioning. I love air conditioning. The first air conditioner was not built to cool people's homes. This engineer was tasked with the problem of eliminating the moisture in a printing press factory, because it affected the inks, affected the paper, and this was in New York too. And when the moist air would come in off the ocean, it would just it would just fuck everything up. And so the guys that owned the publishing house, they wanted to, they couldn't inspect every damn book that they printed for these smudges that would end up happening because of the moist air. So they needed a way to control that. And so they tasked this guy with it. And what he did is that he figured out a way to pump fluid around in pipes that when you compressed it drew heat out of the, when you compressed it it released the heat from this gas or liquid, and when you expanded it, it sucked all the heat in from the surrounding area. That's the reason why the coils on an air conditioning get cold, because it's sucking all the heat in the surrounding area. And so he figured this out. And so he set up a bunch of coils in this printing house and blew air across the coils, and it collected all the moisture, and that moisture dripped off the coils and got it the hell out of the building. Great. The publishing house is happy. But it was a, tens of thousands of dollars project. And Buddy was thinking, he would like to have made some money from this. But to him, it was basically a one-off because, who else is going to have the money to set up another system like this? But he knew he had something. And so he figured out a way to compact this shit down. And so he did. And voila, air conditioning. And I believe his name, I think it was Simmons.
Simmons? Maybe?
Carrier, yeah, Carrier. That's who it was. Yeah, his last name was Carrier, and well, Carrier air conditionings everywhere today, and furnaces. So, yeah, look what came out of all of that inventive spree. That's only a few of the things that off the top of my head. That doesn't include advances in filmography, radio transmission, television transmission. It's all of this stuff came about because people had the freedom to make money and to keep what they made. And they did not have to worry about the government or the king coming and taking their property. Because when people are put in a position like they were in the Soviet Union, where anything that you did could be confiscated by the government and you don't reap any rewards for your efforts, what's the point? There is no point. There are a ton, I kid you not, of ingenious inventions in Russia during the Soviet era. Tons of them. But none of them made it out of the small town or small shop that they were invented in, because there was no incentive for the inventor to be bothered. Zero incentive. The incentive was to make his life easier, so he invented the device for himself in his own garage so that he could be able to do his job and to feed his family. But he also understood in Soviet Russia that it was pointless to try to put his ingenious tire changing mechanism on the market. A way to change tires on trucks with almost zero effort, all by hand. One guy. He put the tire on the machine and he'd be able to do it with zero effort. And it was all just cranks and levers, not big bars or anything like that, because he didn't have the space. This is why he wanted to compact everything. Did it all. Built a beautiful machine. It's almost rusted into the ground now. Nobody would even know how to repair it or even how to build one again, because, again, Buddy had no reason to write it down, and he certainly had no incentive to patent it. Oh, because there was no way to patent anything in Russia or in Soviet Union. So all of those ideas died on the shelf. Meanwhile, in America, people are thriving, and they want to take that away from you. They want to take it away from all of us. It's, you know, it's treasonous towards the human race is what it is. And I can't wait to see every one of these people punished. And they will be punished.
I used to think that the as far as technological jumps or advancement or whatever, the greatest difference, I guess, was say from 1870 to 1970, because we went from, say, the telegraph to the moon. And yeah, that was a big jump. But now we're, and there's a couple things with that. When you go from 0 to 1 or 1 to 2, that's, you know, you double your number, right? That's a huge jump. But if you go from, you know, 9,099 to 10,000, that's very small, but it's still, it's the same level of movement. And you have, I don't know, I guess maybe I'm looking at what I'm thinking now is what we can do in the future will be like 10 times that in the century. Or, you know, how what's the, you know, when we learned in algebra, when you square, you take that curve, the parabola for squaring each number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you get 1, 4, 9, whatever. So the telegraph to space thing was, say, 1 to 2, and then whatever we're doing now from going to, you know, in the next century would be like 2 to 4 or 3 to 9 or 16 to 625 or whatever the square of 16 is.
Actually, it's better than that. It's all Fibonacci. Because when you look how the Fibonacci's graduate, I mean, 0
it's built
plus
on what came before, and you jump that more each time.
Exactly. 0 plus 1 is 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 plus 2 is 5. 5 plus 3 is 8. 8 plus 5 is 13. And now it starts to become exponential. So when the Fibonacci curve first starts out, it starts out tight, really tight, and then very quickly gets very large, and then larger still. I mean, if we are at I don't know, 60 something for the Fibonacci scale, the next number is going to be in the hundreds.
And to
And then once you get up,
do yourself a favor and look up, you know, the nautilus shell or any kind of spiral snail thing. But look up a nautilus shell, and you can see a picture of it cut open. The first few of those things are really tiny, and the shell, the thing itself is about the size of your fist or a little bigger than that. But at the very center of it, they're like the size of a grain of rice, and they get bigger and bigger, the size of a pea. There, Krow is holding one up, so you can see they start real small, and then with the same amount of progression, they get progressively much bigger.
Yeah.
There we go.
And then you can really see it. There. Nice. And you can see it almost starts out as a dot.
Yeah.
In the center.
Starts.
And then you see. Yeah. And then yeah. And see how very quickly those chambers expand? I mean, imagine this thing going out another 2 or 3 inches. How big would each one of those chambers be? So, yeah, that's Fibonacci for you. It's not perfect in nature, but it's always progressing. And that's the nature of the universe. The universe is always progressing. So, whenever you see something, this is how you recognize evil, people. Whenever you see something that wants to stagnate growth or move growth backwards, that is evil. Simple as that. And the thing that fuels that evil is always going to be sin. Sin is the fuel for evil. Evil is always the result of sin. Because sin is the addiction to your habits. That's what sin is. It's the addiction to your habits. And and we all have habits. We can have good habits, we can have bad habits. But being attached to anything is actually the definition of sin. So if you want to be sin free, you have to first abandon all your attachments, and then you can become sin free. So don't be upset if you can't achieve that. Very few in history have. And and that's why we have grace, is because we're really not expected to shed all of our sin, all of our habits. I mean, later on we will, but that will come as a progression in evolutionary learning. I mean, once you begin your journey towards the Father, you will slowly let go of all this stuff anyways. It's part of the progression. So this is why I kind of like, it's like, don't beat yourself up at things. It's like, it's pointless to beat yourself up, because you'll never, ever achieve perfection in this realm. We're not expected to. Perfection comes later. Here, we are just expected to try. Just like when you watch your kids growing up and you're teaching them shit, you don't expect your kids to be able to write cursive first time they pick up a pen. I mean, only a foolish parent would expect that. But what we do expect from our kids is we expect them to practice, do their homework, keep practicing. You'll get better at it someday. Isn't that what we tell our kids? Keep practicing, you'll get better at it someday. Just keep practicing. Well, that's exactly what the Eternal Father is saying to us. Just keep practicing. You'll get better. Don't worry about it. You'll get better at it. Just keep going. Just practice, 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 practice. And so we spend our lives trying to be perfect, but we'll never achieve it. And if we do happen to achieve it, well, it'll be a surprise. I mean, there's plenty of things that I just do because I know it's the right thing to do, the right habit to have to move myself forward. So I just keep doing it over and over again. And then one day I wake up and it's like, oh shit, where the fuck did this success come from? But it's just because I just kept on doing the right things over and over again. I'm always surprised at how little time it takes. But then other shit distracts me and I go and I do other things. Consistency is helpful too, by the way.
I'm going to stop you there, and can I ask you to explain your definition when you say grace, your definition of grace, because a lot of traditional Christians or whatever watching this, that's the way a traditional Christian explains grace is, it has to do with the idea that Christ died for our sins, which you and I know wasn't why he was here.
No, it's just their blood. Their blood. They need their fucking blood. Should all be ashamed of yourselves. Seriously. Every satanic ritual I've come across involves blood. That alone should tell you something right there.
Hmm.
It's just anything that's a blood ritual is satanic in nature, period. Why do you think Christ upset the tables in the temple? He's being pissed off because, I mean, the whole blood sacrifice thing made him sick to his stomach. But he understood that this was something that these people were attached to. And he was just like, they'll outgrow it someday. It's like, I don't know, your kid wearing girl clothes, you know. I'm sure that, I'm sure it's happened to parents where they've had their sons be more comfortable in their sister's dress than in their trousers. And you're probably just freaking the fuck out. Well, what's going through your mind, you don't want to just like, traumatize the kid. So you're just thinking to yourself, fuck, I hope he outgrows it by the time he's 13. That's all you can do. Because if you do anything else, you know that it's only going to hurt the kid psychologically. And guess what?
Right.
If you are patient and you just keep like being honest with your children, guess what? They will outgrow those things. And then, they will go on to be normal adults. The creator of the universe sees the long path down the road. And so, yeah, they were sacrificing animals and they were doing the blood. They didn't understand exactly what they were doing. Jesus understood it, but it it was enough that the blood rituals were annoying enough to our creator of the universe that he upset some tables. That should tell you something right there. If you're paying attention, you would understand. So get rid of all your blood sacrifices and all your bullshit and just worship the creator of the universe for who he is, not for what he has done. Be grateful for what he's done, but worship him for who he is. I don't know how to put it a simpler way.
Thank you.
And and the grace thing, what I mean by grace is exactly what the definition of grace is. A period of time of waiting and watching. That is the grace that we get from God, is that we might make a mistake somewhere in our life, but we are given grace. Grace is our chance to correct our errors. That's what grace is. And we've been given, and we get an average of 80 years of life on this planet, and we'll make mistakes, and we'll do things right. We'll do things wrong. And but as long as we're continually correcting ourselves, we are within grace.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what is meant by through grace we are saved in the traditional Christian religion. And it has nothing to do with blood. If anything, Jesus had a bit of a pseudo communion that he did with his disciples and with the apostles, and it was for to create a close bond within their group, to create a brotherhood. And he took a page from John the Baptist, and that was water, fresh water from a fast moving brook, and some bread. The brook represented the flow and water of life, and the bread represented the knowledge of life. To consume knowledge, to bring knowledge into yourself. It's that is what the true communion is. Um, I've got it written down. The whole thing is the whole ceremony. I've got it written out, and it basically it's almost very close to the blood communion that we are all familiar with, except it's the water of life, which flows from creation. The water is also described as love coming from creation, and the bread is described as consuming the knowledge, the spiritual knowledge of God. Hey, if you think you know Jesus, which communion makes more sense to you? Tell me that one. And if it's the blood one that makes more sense to you, God, I would love to know how you justify that one in your brain. I really would like to know the logic and the reason that you attach to it. And there has to be logic and reason attached to it. It can't be just because it's tradition. That shit just fucking pisses me off. It's like, it's no different than, lemons all jumping over the cliff together. Same fucking thing. So, yeah, I would really love to know the reasoning and logic behind a blood ritual for a man that preached nothing but brotherhood and and understanding. I'd like to know where that leap came from, but hey, you know what? They've had 2,000 years to fuck it up. So there you go.
So I think we were talking yesterday about strategy and so on, and you asked me to ask you about the Greek boxer who never lost a match.
Oh yes, yes. See,
Cast rock, that sort of thing. So the Greek boxer.
the Greek boxer. Yeah. See, this is why I send you these little things. The Greek boxer was an interesting is an interesting story, and it kind of tied into the conversation that we were having because okay, what I had told Peter is that I had a vision of Biden begging Trump to just end it. Like just like if you could see my vision, it was to me, it was fucking hilarious. I mean, I almost fell on the ground laughing because I was like, that is the most hilarious thing I've ever seen in my whole fucking life. And it kind of makes sense. So here's the logic and reason that I attach to that vision actually probably making sense. And what I said to Peter was, think about it, okay? Joe Biden's an old man, 40 plus years in politics. By all accounts, he has had an exceptionally successful political career. By all accounts. I mean, he's been a congressman, he's been a senator, he's been a bunch of other stuff in between. He's always been in government. He's made himself a nice little cushion for retirement. He's got zero worries for retirement, like zero worries. We all know the houses that he owns. Plus, Barton Hunter was doing a 10% kickback back to the big guy. So there's that. So he wasn't in need of a nest egg. He already had his nest egg. And I am, and vice president. He was the vice president of the United States, and he served beside probably like by all intents and purposes one of the most popular presidents of the United States. So again, all intents and purposes, this man had a successful career. There is zero reason for this guy to want to be president of the United States at his age. I mean, why wouldn't you want a younger more vibrant personality to, run. I mean, you mean to tell me that there was nobody that Biden in his 46-year or 45-year career or whatever the fuck it was, that he couldn't find one person that he admired enough to say, well, you know what? You shouldn't be asking me to be president. You should be asking that guy over there. He's a young fella. I've watched his career grow. He's 60 years old, so young fella compared to Joe, who's in his, 70s? So there you go. And so you mean to tell me there was nobody that this man could point to in his 40 plus year career to say that I would vote for that guy if you went and got him? No.
Or girl, Tulsi,
Or
but we can talk about her another time.
yeah.
But yes, I
But
get the
so I
point.
mean, yeah, it makes no sense. And so I mean, I think this guy was basically ready to just sit in his backyard, pat his dog, and watch his garden grow. And then they yank him out of his retirement and into the White House. I mean, why would anybody his age want to deal with that? I mean, they couldn't find anybody younger? I mean, really. So this is another anomaly in the whole Joe Biden thing. It's like, why the fuck is he even there? I mean, the guy should be sitting on his front porch with his dog and a glass of lemonade, waving to the neighbors. That's where he should be. And here he is. And yeah, none of it makes any sense. But my vision does. And so, yeah, the boxer. So this also goes back to what is going on with the movement and why I say that the plan is moving forward perfectly. Because I was reminded of this story of a Greek boxer. This Greek boxer never lost a fight. This was like maybe, 2,200 years ago or something like that, back when Greek was at its height and they were having the Olympic Games every year. And this boxer fought several hundred fights and never lost one. And the thing that set this boxer apart from all other boxers, and he won medals and awards and dined with kings and queens and lords and ladies, was that he never once struck a blow on his opponent. And he never once received a blow from his opponent. What he did and why he won every match that he went into is he would wear his opponent down with fake moves, fake jabs that they would have to react to, and they would end up wearing themselves down. Till finally, after about 20 or 30 minutes, they would just give up. They would fall flat on their face and just be like, I give up. How did Muhammad Ali win so many fights? Now that I'm being reminded again. Because the guy knew how to dance around a ring. How many times were people able to lay a blow on Muhammad Ali? Very few. He received very few blows from his opponents in his career. But he just had to just wait, and he would dance around and he would just wait for that one moment where he could slip in that deadly uppercut, and boom, opponent's on the ground. Done. Done in 3. Done in 30. Isn't that what General Flynn said? Done in 30?
Done in 30, yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's
Think
a
of each
strategy
week.
for I guess, arguing with people on the internet. I guess what I like to do is simply ask people to explain what they mean, because I get these either trolls or people who are just stuck in a certain mindset or whatever, and I make a comment that's fairly neutral or something that's almost unavailable, and they start getting into it with me, and I just ask them to explain, why do you say this, or why is it, and they'll either devolve into calling me names for being, it's the one I remember is I'm in a lot of theist atheist discussion groups on Facebook, and the anti-theists and the evangelicals both like to take shots at me. And I had one, I think, an anti-theist. His analogy in his mind was theist equals evil. I think whether it's a Buddhist or a homophobic Southern Baptist, I don't think he drew a distinction. I didn't get to the point where I got to ask him that before he blocked me. So,
well, you see,
I just go straight down the middle, and I let these people show their true colors.
And that's exactly what you do. That's the other thing that evil does too. Evil polarizes the mind. You wonder how Lucifer was able to convince so many of the angels to rebel with him. Is because he polarized their minds. Instead of looking at the vast universe and all the complex pieces that fit in to make the whole thing work, Lucifer divided everything down into two camps to polarize it. And so that, people, oh yeah, that makes sense. It's like, you need to open up your mind more. True Christianity is having an open mind. I mean, how many times did Jesus sit and listen to people that did not agree with him? And then through the course of conversation was able to win them over. Because the way Jesus would win them over is that he wouldn't allow them to polarize the argument, because Jesus understood that polarizing any topic is just what evil does. That's what evil does. You need to look at the bigger picture. This is why there is no black and white description of God, is because you cannot nail something as dynamic as the Eternal Father into a black and white reference point. This is why we have a hard time nailing it down. Our primitive ancestors did, but they had no choice because their minds were limited in imagination. I mean, shit, listen to the music that they played 4,000 or 5,000 years ago. It's really shitty music compared to what we have today. I mean, everybody's like, oh, I like the old stuff. Why? I mean, it's one note at a time, and it doesn't mesh together with harmony. I mean, one of the first artists that really took music to another level was Mozart. Like, if you could listen to Mozart the way that he intended it, it's on another level. I mean, there's just in its simplest format, there are 3 different things going on in a Mozart piece. 3 different things. I love that type of music. I mean, man, it's like a lot, even some of the bands today, like they have really got it down. One band that I like is Legend of the Seagull Man. You don't hear the layers when you're playing it just on regular speakers, but with the earphones on, I can hear like half a dozen different layers going on in this music. And it's wonderful. It's like, I can't listen to country music because to me, it's two-dimensional. It's two-dimensional music. I like something that's complex, something that like can carry your energy away. Some that doesn't do it. And when you look at the evolution of music just in the 20th century alone, you can see that and how it evolved up through. And and why they didn't want rock and roll to take off, and then all the other stuff that came with rock and roll, and why they wanted to destroy Jimi Hendrix. They didn't. I mean, Jimi Hendrix only became popular again because of capitalism. It's because there were people that wanted to make money from his music, so they made sure that he was able to play music. But there was plenty of other people that were in opposition to his music. They didn't want his music out there, mainly the religious community. Why? Because the music that he was creating at that time was very complex for his time. Nowadays, artists, guitarists, they just like, they play Jimi Hendrix stuff, to relax before they go on a show now, because we've gone beyond what Jimi Hendrix had started, way beyond. But there were layers in his music that if you don't hear it in the recordings, uh, unless you get a remastered recording, which really brings out the depth of the music. And this is why his concerts were so popular. It's because when you were listening to the music in person, you could feel those layers. This is why thousands of people showed up for his concerts, because they wanted to feel that. And I've experienced it myself with bands like Tool. Uh, Listening to their music on CD, that's one thing. Go and listen to their music in person, completely different experience. There's not that many bands that can do that have like their concerts are better than their recorded stuff. But there are bands out there that do it. And so this is also about evolving and moving forward. Stagnation kills us. And so, we've only scratched the iceberg of complexity just in music alone. And someday we'll go even further with it. And and there'll be more layers involved. And some bands that I really like, they have like 3 singers. There's no lead singer. It's just all 3 of them, and they each have their part. I mean, this band, Mushroomhead, it's like a 9-person band. 9 people, all doing different things, and then it's all combined together. This complex orchestra. So, is there anything else we should talk about?
No, I'm not. I don't know. I'm just waiting to see what happens next, I guess.
That is the thing. What is going to happen next? Actually, all the pieces are in place. I think all the pieces are in place. And it's just a matter of time before it all falls into place. And there's going to be people that are going to be attacking the vulnerable. A lot of people have doubts that this is actually going to happen, but I have no doubt it's going to happen because it's because this is the only time in history, and it can't be a better time in history for this to happen. Because for one thing, spiritually, the people are ready for it. The people have been ready for this since people have started getting ready for this since the 90s. Since the mid 90s, people have been getting ready for this. So it's already been 25 years. This has been slowly ramping up, like you said, like a generator, winding up. This has been slowly winding up. Just look at the books that have been published over the last 25 years. And think about everything that we have learned. Think about what technology has done for us. I mean, this is the first time in history. This is why you can't compare the truth movement from the Soviet Union to the Q movement today. It's because Q is worldwide. There has never been a movement on this planet that has been worldwide the way Q movement is. The only thing that is comparable is the spread of Christianity. And that took damn near 2,000 years. This has been done in less than 3 years because of technology. So we are never going to be in a better position spiritually and technologically wise for us to start on the path of light and life, the golden path, as I like to call it, referencing Dune, of course. But this is the golden path, and we cannot start on the golden path through violent war. And because if we do, there is no golden path. It's as simple as that. I've explained it before. War creates strife. And once strife has occurred, then there has to be a time of healing. So if there's a time of strife, there has to be a time of healing. We have already had our time of healing after strife. It's been over 80 years since, or it's been 100 years since pretty much the First World War, 105 years. And 80 years since the Second World War. So there's already been generational healing. If we go into another war, a world war, then it's going to be another 100 years of healing from that strife. And the path to light and life will be delayed again, just like it was 100 years ago. We should have already been on this path of light and life, but they interrupted us with it took 2 world wars to fuck us over. Keep that in mind, people. This is how powerful God is. It took 2 world wars to fuck us and 1 recession. War, recession, war. That's what it took. And it took them 40 years to implement that plan, to delay us on the path to light and life. And they have been delaying us ever since. And now we're finally in a position where we could end their reign and start on the path of light and life. But we can't do it using guns and bombs. It's got to be done right. It's got to be done lawfully. Hey, that's a Q quote, by the way. And so we have to be patient. We have to let the patriots do their work. A friend of mine asked me, at what point will you lose hope that the plan is not going through? I could only think to say, if the military pulls out of Washington, D.C., and nothing is done, then nothing probably will be done. That's kind of scary, isn't it? It's kind of scary that we're relying on the US military to save us too. But yeah, that's how I see it. So I've been watching the movement in and around Washington, D.C. They haven't started pulling troops out, but they have been like moving them around a lot.
Okay.
And but none of them have left. There's still 140,000 troops in Washington, D.C., 3 days after the inauguration. And as long as those troops are there, there is hope. The second they leave, hope is gone. And I am certain that that is what everybody is feeling. I have no doubt that everybody feels the same way. So all of us that have followed the Q board, I think we're probably all on the same page about that. If the troops leave, it's done. And I don't know, might be time to, like, grab your bug out bag and hit the fucking woods.
Okay, I guess I just you get, unless you have something else, I can close us out, or I'll got with a closing. I got a closing statement, I guess.
I can't wait till see what next week brings.
Yeah. Until next week, keep growing. Was it that symbol I worked into my Think Positive for Life program? Stay positive, smile, and always move forward. Work on personal growth, and anything that don't take our word for anything. You can listen, but if you want to double check something, please go ahead and do that. Nothing we say is written in stone. It's our it's what we're saying is our interpretation from the inputs and the information that we are observing, and we're telling you how it looks to us, but it'll look different to you, so check.
Basically, I look at this show as just inviting people to be a fly on the wall with our conversation.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, this is just, you're a fly on the wall. Take from it what you need, leave the rest.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And and that goes with everything that anybody that you listen to. Just take what you need from it, because there's plenty of people out there. They've got like lots of pearls of wisdom, but they also got a lot of garbage going on in there too. And my attitude has always been, I'll take what I need from them and leave the rest. I really am a scavenger of information, is what it is that I scavenge information. I will look into Satanism, I'll look into Luciferianism, I'll look into paganism, witchcraft, I'll look into all of that stuff. None of it bothers me. I will take what is constructive from those, and I will leave the destructive stuff for them to have. I don't need it. And, I take a look at what the tools they are using and how they're using them. And I think to myself, how can I use that tool in a truthful and father focused way? And and I can do it. It's because it's only a tool. something amusing is that if you can find spirituality in a lot of stuff, and all you got to do, and you can, and it can inspire you. I'm just trying to think here. Oh yeah. Let's see if I can bring it up right quick. I just want to read the read the lyrics from something. It's actually a Metallica song. And when you read the lyrics and you really think about them, it's like these guys are not that spiritual, but somehow they were able to write a song that is very relevant spiritually. It kind of I kind of find it strange that they did. Oh, let's see. They didn't put it all in there. Give me 2 seconds, because I'll tell you, you'll find this interesting. I promise. Oh. I don't know. It's like the computer works fast for me when I don't really need it to, and then when I need it to work fast for me, it never does. What the hell is up with that? It's like, wow. Okay. Now this is what I found. I'm just going to read them off, and then so that you just think of it as a poem. Okay. And now I wait my whole lifetime for you. Who's you? You is whoever you want it to be. I ride the dirt, I ride the tide for you, meaning everything that is being done is done for whoever you is. You choose who that is. And then I search outside and I search inside for you. That's a pretty blatant spiritual reference, if you ask me. And then so to take back what you left me, meaning gifts, I know I'll always burn to be the one who seeks so that I may find. And now I wait my whole lifetime. Then that little verse, that's basically, it's a kind of a double meaning statement. He's searching, but he's waiting at the same time. The author of the song is. So he's searching inside, searching out, but then he's also waiting. And as you go through the song, he begins to see the folly of his waiting. This is why it's like, getting out and doing things. And this is a part that I really found interesting. And this is where it actually almost goes into a prayer structure. Okay, so the background voices of the song is "Hear me," and then the lead singer, "And if I close my mind in fear, please pry it open." "See me, if my face becomes sincere, beware, hold me. Save me, and when you see me strut, remind me of what left this outlaw torn." When you start to see me come undone, stitch me back together. These lines are indicative of you'll find in every religion around the world. It almost reminds me of something that would come from Buddha when you think about it. And this is not the only Metallica song that I've come across that does this. And I'm just like, wow. I was like, where did these guys get this inspiration? This kind of inspiration to write a song like that? Mind you, the earlier stuff is not like that. Not even close. Their earlier stuff is all about, drugs and partying and shit. So this is something that they wrote more when they were in their middle age and they're starting to settle into a family life. And so this is what this author wrote. So take it for what you will, but what I'm saying is that it doesn't matter the tool. It's how you use it. It doesn't matter that this is a Metallica song. This song inspires me spiritually. That makes it a powerful song. It's not the tool. It's how you use it. So, yeah, I guess that's probably my last word.
Okay. Well, thank you for watching. I'm Peter.
And I'm Krow.
And this has been Q&A, and we'll catch you next time.
Salute.
Bye-bye.